quite some time now, I have been tinkering around with an idea that I think most, if not all, political questions can be actually conclusively solved. I don't think there is a need for these questions to resort to matters of opinion. For instance, questions like, should we increase or decrease taxes? Should the United Kingdom leave the European Union? Who should the next president of the United States be? It doesn't matter the question. I think all of these can be settled and actually solved via empirical means, similar to how we solve mathematical equations. To do this, we need to agree on and postulate one simple premise. That premise is that the well-being of humanity is the most important thing. It is the highest and most fundamental axiom we can posit. It's not rights, it's not liberties, it's not amendments, it's not principles, it is well-being. And I think I can prove that. Indulge in this thought experiment for a moment. Let's say you had the choice of yourself, your family, and everyone you cared about to exist in one of two worlds. In the first world, World A, all of you had rights, liberty, principles, etc. But everyone in this world, including you, was suffering to the maximum degree that's even possible. The maximum amount of pain and mental suffering imaginable for eternity. Now picture an alternative world. In this other world, World B, you, your friends, family, and everyone you ever cared about have no rights, no liberties, no principles, but all of you are experiencing the most amount of well-being that is possible. Everyone in this world is actualized, happy, and experiencing consciousness in the best way that is possible, whatever that may subjectively be for each of you. Now, I know which world I would pick, and I think I know which world you would pick as well. I don't believe this is because of my propensity to view the world through a hedonistic lens. Instead, I think it's due to us intrinsically valuing the well-being of our conscious minds, and by extension humanity, as the most important thing. Everything else in the world we hold dear, ideas, concepts, rules, laws, all become subordinate to well-being when push comes to shove, and we need to be cognizant of that. I think we have all collectively lost sight in this hyper-polarized political climate we find ourselves in. I think we need to start viewing rights and laws, freedoms, concepts, ideologies as a means to help us on our pathway towards achieving the greatest well-being possible for everyone. That is the true goal. That is the actual thing that we care about. In an earlier video, I used this to substantiate and prop up my argument as to why I think certain restrictions on free speech may be necessary. That argument, in summary, was that unfettered free speech is not conducive with facilitating our strive towards the greatest well-being. I made a case on how we can empirically gauge how some forms of speech have little to no utility and only seem to cause demonstrable and tangible harm to humanity when promulgated. Things like anti-vaccination propaganda or even promoting homeopathic medicine over traditional treatments fall into that bucket. If people by enacting their right to freedom of speech espouse anti-vaccination rhetoric, and we can subsequently causally link the deaths of thousands of children solely to that speech due to their parents falling victim to that rhetoric and thereby not vaccinating their children, I don't think that just appealing to freedom of speech or any other right for that matter is the correct way to think, because remember, the goal isn't to just have these rights. The goal is to have the greatest well-being possible. This unconditional appeal to concepts no matter the outcome mindset is not how we should think. And that's what rights are, by the way. They don't materially exist in the universe. I can't go out and inspect or analyze or assess any matter or atomic particles and deductively get to a human right. They are just ideas created by people. So I believe we need to start viewing all of these things as mechanisms in which we can utilize to achieve the best possible well-being. But if those principles no longer facilitate that, then we need to alter them so as they do. This is why I think we can in theory solve any political question via empirical means. Let's try to figure out how we could possibly solve some of the most pertinent and pervasive political points of contention at the moment. Should the United Kingdom leave the European Union? I mean, if the economic, psychological and sociological data we have at the moment indicates that there will be more people having an increased quality of life and well-being, then they should leave. If the data indicates that more harm and a net decrease in well-being would occur from the United Kingdom leaving the European Union, then they shouldn't leave. Even a contentious issue like should we transform our Western economic structures to a more socialistic style over a capitalistic one can be conclusively determined if we rationally assess the current appropriate literature we have at the moment. If it turns out to be that a socialist-style economic structure provided more well-being than a capitalist one, then we should. If it doesn't, then we shouldn't. Now, I'm not saying that I know the answer to these questions, but what I am saying is that we can actually solve these questions. So, all in all, I think the totality of political disagreements can actually be solved conclusively. A political position is either correct, in that it does maximize well-being, or moves in that direction, or incorrect, in that it just doesn't maximize well-being, or it doesn't even move in that direction. This is a binary thing. Some political opinions can be conclusively just wrong, and some can be actually right. All that needs to be established is that we axiomatically presuppose that the well-being for humanity is the goal. And the way that we enact prescriptive legislations needs to be self-updating. We can only solve these questions by appealing to the current data we have now. And as we advance scientific disciplines, we can more accurately make these conclusions. So the policies would need to be self-updating in accordance with the incoming newfound data. If new studies indicate that a current policy is just not conducive with maximising well-being anymore, and another policy would be better suited to achieve this, then that old policy needs to be changed. It's that simple. Now, there is room for differing opinions when it comes to philosophical points of contention and value claims even, because science at this point in time just can't answer these questions. So we could have differing opinions on what even is well-being and how we can make it commensurable with empiricism. Maybe we can ascribe value to a specific emotional state and quantify that somehow into a metric that we can use, i.e. X policy when extrapolated produces 20 units of well-being but detracts 10. But I hope as science advances, we can creep closer to getting a true 100% understanding of the human mind. These points of political contention will start to lose their blurriness and clear answers will emerge. Before I end this video, I just want to hone in on this one point. I'm not a political ideologue. I have no interest in pushing a political agenda. I have no attachments to any of my views at all. All I have is a belief that we should strive to formulate environments and societies that provides the most well-being for people that we possibly can. I am not intrinsically left-leaning or progressive. It just so happens that progressive ideas seem to be conducive with maximising well-being over conservative ideas. But this is how I think everyone involved with politics should try to think like, not opposed to anything, just simply an open book trying to figure out what creates the best societies for the most amount of people. Because at the end of the day, what's more important than that?